Oh shoot, I have to do my lipstick. Hey, sorry, I turned it off. Priorities, you know? Is that it? Is that the hair? No, okay. So this week I have something a little different for you guys. We're gonna get creative. We're gonna bring the Bible to life in ways that are relatable today, and it's gonna be a little bit cringy, borderline inappropriate, but just borderline, you know what I mean? And why I'm gonna do this is because I stay hearing y'all talking about how the Bible is boring and why do they talk like that, but the Bible is so exciting, and honestly all of the stories in it, all of the people in it, they're actually kind of lit and super relatable. But a fun game I thought I'd introduce to you guys is a game that me and my best friend used to play in Bible college, and it's called Bible Tinder. And basically in this game, we look at people in the Bible and we say whether or not we date them and why. Which is weird. Some of them were 100 years old. Also, they're dead. Yeah, basically we think about these people in the Bible and we're like, is this a sweeter man's? Would I swipe right?
And before anybody comes to me about the sin of lust,
they're dead, okay? There is no such thing as lusting for a skeleton. Technically, they're not even skeletons. They're probably decomposed by now, so they're dust, okay? Lust dust. But in all seriousness, it was just a way for us to really put ourselves in the Bible stories and think about how these characters really are, what they went through, what their lives were like. Sometimes it's just easy to forget that these like stories really happened and these people are real and their stories are real, and like this is all part of this whole narrative of God's redemption story that we're a part of now. Who knows if there's gonna be a book up in heaven that features us, you know what I mean? But yeah, nobody cancel me, this is all just for fun. So this week, we're gonna be looking at this really cute guy, and his name is Mark. You're making me shy. So Mark, if you don't know, was one of the writers of the 4 Gospels. His was called the Gospel of Mark, obviously. And honestly, I might be wrong about some of these facts because Mark was such a common name back in that time. But a lot of people assumed that the writer of the Gospel of Mark was this guy who they referenced as Mark the Evangelist. So because people assume that, we're gonna assume that too, okay? Because I'm not gonna go against the theologians, but I'm just saying it's not set in stone necessarily. So Mark was one of the Gospel writers, but he wasn't just one of them, okay? He was the first one. In fact, before his gospel, everyone was kind of just saying the story of Jesus and his resurrection just verbally, which is so cool. But he decided to write it down, and actually some of the other writers of the other gospels, Matthew and Luke, actually used Mark's gospel as a point of reference to write their own. So like basically he sets the stage, which like right off the bat we love. He is a trendsetter. People be following him, copying him, you know what I mean? One day I saw Mark writing a gospel, so I wrote one too. What's also really cool is we don't actually know if Mark was one of Jesus's first 12 disciples. Apparently, he's not even writing about his own experiences, he's writing about the experiences of his friend named Peter, who, if you don't know, was one of the first 12. He heard all these stories about Peter, and he wrote them down for him, which like green flags everywhere. That means that Mark must be like a good listener. Mark not only listened, he wrote it down, which like I love, because Mark would listen to me ramble forever. I could tell him about all the tea happening at work or all of the things that I've learned on YouTube, and he would just listen and he would take notes. Also, apparently this Mark has a lot of, or at least his mom does. This is based off this story. And Peter basically runs to Mark's mom's house, which is where they hosted a lot of Christian gatherings at the time. So it's known that she had a household, which not many people did, and she could host bare meetings for all the Christians, and she had at least one servant. So the man comes from money. But honestly, it's not his money, and money's not even a thing for me. I'm like not that shallow. It really just depends how he looks. What I'm really focused on, what I think would be important, is that mother-daughter relationship. Like, if she loves to host, if she has all these meetings and has all these Christians at her house all the time, she must be so nice and so hospitable. And none of us want a mother-in-law who's a monster. You know what I mean? I just could see it now. We would be baking lasagna or whatever they made back then. I don't even know. What did they make? bread. I am super down for a man with a good family. Not to mention that Mark was the first bishop of this place called Alexandria, and he was also the first person to establish a Christian church in Africa. Which, like, whoa, okay, CEO vibes, CEO vibes. We love a man with purpose, a trendsetter. We already know that. He already started the first gospels, but now, like, you're the first bishop and the first church opener. Okay, I'm in support of that. I'm in support. I am all for supporting my man's dreams. Yeah, I'm really impressed by Mark. I feel like he's a little too good to be true though. And he is, because he does present some red flags. So as you know, Mark was a friend of Peter's, but he was actually also friends with some real big Bible characters. A man named Paul and a man named Barnabas. Which, if you don't know them, we're actually going to do a video on Paul, but I just couldn't do him right now because I just love him so much. He's like my Bible boyfriend, and sometimes I just don't know if he'd like me back. So we're just going to do a video on Mark right now, and that's what we're going to focus on because we don't want to aim too high. But that is who my heart belongs to. And also my husband, don't tell him how I feel about Paul. Anyways, in regards to this friendship, when Mark was on a missions trip with Paul and Barnabas, he seemingly just leaves them in the middle of it. He just leaves his friends. It doesn't really say why, but we're gonna assume it wasn't something that important or whatever, because it makes Paul really upset. So much so that it actually breaks up Paul and Barnabas on their second missions trip because they can't agree on whether or not they want Mark to come. Paul is like, I am not down for that homie to come. Barnabas, who apparently might be Mark's cousin, is like, nah, we're family till I die. He has to come, da-da-da-da-da. And Paul's literally like, okay, then you go do your own thing. Like, Paul was that cheesed at the thought of Mark coming. Like, how are you cheesing Paul? Do you know who he was when he was Saul? He was killing mans. You have to stay on that guy's good side. I'm just kidding. After he became a Christian, he became so loving, stopped killing mans, was just so amazing, which is why I love him so much. Just give me a chance, Paul. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like if he left for a solid reason, Paul would not be that angry. So I just feel like if you don't have loyalty to your friends, how are you gonna have loyalty to me? But yeah, after a while, everything cools down. Paul cools off, and he actually writes a letter calling Mark helpful to his ministry. Maybe he was just wildin'. Maybe he was just moody that day, was hungry, got hangry. We don't know. We don't know all the pieces, the two sides of the story. I feel like if I go on a date with Mark, I could just ask him. So yeah, Mark was a writer, he was a good listener, has a rich mama. I don't know, I kind of like Mark. And what's really cool about Mark's gospel is he really pulls on like the mystery of Jesus, So we're gonna assume he likes mystery. I could be mysterious. And his gospel also really focuses on reconceptualizing the idea of Jesus and correcting the wrong idea that people had of Jesus, which is really cool because he's about the facts, he's about the truth. I might lose in an argument against him because he stays correcting people, but we love some healthy accountability, I feel like if we weigh it, there's a lot more green flags than there is the one red flag, the loyalty. I think I'm gonna give it a chance, and I'm gonna swipe right. Oh my gosh, we matched. I didn't think he was gonna like me back. What should I say? Should I start the combo? Okay, is it hot in here, or is that just the Holy Spirit burning inside of us?
Yeah, this isn't gonna work.